The metallic snap of the handcuffs echoed through the otherwise peaceful street like a single, abrupt gunshot. It wasn't the sound itself that caused every nearby head to whip around, but the sheer disbelief of what they were witnessing. A tall, poised black woman, dressed in a charcoal gray jacket over a navy blouse, hair pinned neatly, and eyes calm but commanding, was being forced face first against the hood of a squad car by two local police officers. Neither of them had a clue that the woman they had just manhandled was Major General Camille R. Hawkins, one of the most respected military minds in the Department of Defense. "You're resisting arrest," barked the taller of the two officers, his hands digging into her shoulder as he twisted her arm behind her back. "I am not," Camille replied evenly. Her voice held no panic, no weakness, just steel. "And you have no idea who you just put your hands on. But you will." Camille Hawkins had not survived 3 combat deployments, led strategic operations across 5 continents, and held the confidence of 2 U.S. presidents only to be treated like a suspect in her own country while getting coffee. But here she was, arms behind her back, her cheek grazing the cold hood of a Crown Victoria, while bystanders pulled out their phones, some filming, others frozen in stunned silence. The morning had started like any other. Camille had arrived back in Washington just 12 hours earlier after a month-long classified operation overseas. She was operating on 4 hours of sleep, had yet to see her children, and was heading to the Pentagon for an 8 a.m. closed-door debrief. Before the meeting, she stopped at a corner cafe in Arlington for her usual black coffee, splash of oat milk, no sugar. She had parked her military-issued black Audi A8 in front of the shop, stepped out, and noticed 2 local officers standing on the sidewalk talking near their cruiser. She nodded respectfully and continued toward the cafe. From the second she got out of the vehicle, she could feel their eyes on her. It wasn't unusual, Camille was used to attention. But this wasn't curiosity. This was suspicion. A look she had seen before in places far from the battlefield, here at home, in airports, train stations, and now, apparently, coffee shops. "You see her car?" one officer muttered. "Plates don't match the look," the others said, eyeing Camille's vehicle like it had just rolled off a stolen lot. By the time she stepped back outside with her cup in hand, they were waiting. "Excuse me, ma'am," said Officer Dale Riker, stepping in front of her. "We're conducting a routine vehicle check. Can you tell me if this car belongs to you?" Camille blinked once, then again, as if clearing dust from her vision. "Yes." "Is there a reason for this stop?" The second officer, younger and smug, stepped around her to inspect the back of her car. "Suspicious vehicle," he said. "That's a government vehicle," Camille said. "Registered under federal credentials." "And you got credentials to prove that?" Riker asked. "I do. In my jacket pocket." "I'm going to reach for them slowly." "Don't move," the younger cop barked. "Put your hands where I can see them." Camille held her arms out calmly, her cup still steaming. "I'm not a threat. I'm Major General Camille Hawkins. I'm due at the Pentagon in 45 minutes. Riker's brow twitched, but the name didn't register. "Yeah," the young officer snorted. "And I'm the head of NASA." And that was when things turned. The next 30 seconds happened in a blur. One of the officers reached for her arm while the other grabbed her shoulder. Camille didn't flinch, didn't raise her voice, didn't strike back. But that didn't stop them from shoving her against the hood and cuffing her like a suspect caught red-handed. Someone across the street shouted, "Hey, what are you doing?" She didn't do anything. Camille turned her head toward the voice and said in a calm, unwavering tone, "I need someone to make a call. Memorize these numbers." The bystander, a young woman in scrubs holding a breakfast sandwich, fumbled to open her phone. Camille recited a string of numbers. "Dial exactly what I say. Pentagon emergency response line. Confirm my identity and tell them I've been detained by Arlington PD. Badge numbers." She craned her neck toward the name tags. "For -9-7-1 and 5-2-8-6. The woman did as she was told, her voice trembling as she held the phone to her ear. 2 rings. Then a voice, flat and firm. "Pentagon Emergency Response Command. State your clearance." The woman's eyes widened. Someone named General Camille Hawkins asked me to call. She's been handcuffed by 2 officers. I have badge numbers." The silence that followed wasn't quiet. It was explosive. Within moments, the dispatcher's voice changed from protocol to panic. "Confirm location." The woman gave the intersection. 2 blocks from the Pentagon. 5 minutes from the Joint Chiefs entrance. A pause. Then, "All units, stand down." "I repeat, all units, stand down. Responding team inbound." Prepare for high-level extraction. The two officers, who had been arrogantly chatting near their car, went quiet as new orders came through on their radios. You just cuffed a Pentagon-level asset, the dispatcher hissed. You're about to have hell rain down. And it did. For black Suburbans screeched to a halt around the scene. Armed Pentagon security officers stepped out, suits tailored, sunglasses reflecting the shocked faces around them. Uncuff her, one of them ordered. Riker stuttered. She said she was military. We didn't. She is not just military. She's your superior 100 times over. You cuffed a general without cause. Do you have any idea the jurisdictional storm you've just unleashed? Camille stood as her cuffs were removed, never once breaking eye contact with the officers who had detained her. I'd like your body cams pulled, she said calmly. And I want the audio files transmitted to Inspector General Harkness within the hour. I also want access to your stop and search records for the last 12 months. Every profile, every stop. If there's a pattern, I will find it. One of the security detail members handed her a clean phone. Ma'am, your direct line is open. Camille dialed a secure number. Secretary Langdon. I've just been unlawfully detained outside a cafe on 14th and Jefferson by Arlington officers. I want internal review to take immediate possession of their personnel files. Full audit. She ended the call, then turned back to Riker and his partner. Gentlemen, your badges are likely suspended as of 10 seconds ago. If I were you, I'd call a union rep. No more smugness. No more barked orders. Just silence. As Camille got into the back seat of the Suburban, one officer managed to squeak out, We didn't know. She paused. Then, with a voice quieter than a whisper but sharper than any blade, replied, and that's exactly the problem. By sundown, both officers were officially suspended pending an investigation. By the end of the week, they were indicted under federal civil rights violations. The footage captured by the bystanders went viral, but it wasn't the virality that sealed their fate. It was the absolute precision with which Camille dismantled them, not with vengeance, but with accountability. The next morning, as Camille walked up the marble steps of the Pentagon in her full dress uniform, journalists swarmed outside the building. Footage of the previous day played behind them on looping screens. The handcuffs, the arrival of the black Suburbans, the look of utter disbelief on the faces of the officers. When asked by a reporter what she hoped the public would take from the incident, Camille paused, then said, that even when I'm out of uniform, I am still owed the same respect and rights as anyone else. This was never about rank. This was about principle. Later that afternoon, Secretary Langdon held a press conference announcing the formation of a new task force aimed at retraining local law enforcement on handling stops involving federal personnel, and more broadly, on implicit bias in policing. But for Camille, the victory wasn't the public apology or the policy shift. It was the look on her daughter's face that night when she explained what had happened. Did they know who you were? Her daughter asked. Camille shook her head. No, but now they do. And across the country, so did everyone else. Because the truth had always been the same, prejudice doesn't care about rank. But neither does justice, when justice is commanded by someone who refuses to bow.